So I hope you're excited to delve into your snow day STEAM kits. I'm going to kind of walk through the activities with you, and I'm going to show you what supply you need for what activity. So just make sure whenever we're doing an activity, you're using the correct supply. I'll be very, very clear, okay? So in our STEAM kits, there's a bunch of really fun at-home activities for you to do that have something to do with science, might have something to do with engineering and arts. There's a bunch of really fun stuff in here, okay? So let's get started with our very first activity. If you open your bag, you'll find a bunch of stuff, but one of the things in your bag are these paper snowflake template sheets. So you go ahead and grab those out, and then a supply you need that's not in your bag, but you'll have to grab just at home, which I'm sure you have, is just a pair of scissors, okay? Now, if you look, there's 3 different ones. There's one that says, at the very top, one says template 5, template 7, and template 8. I'm gonna do template 5 with you today, but feel free after you practice on number 5, it's a little bit easier, you can try to do the other 2 snowflake templates, okay? So the first thing you have to do is we need to cut out this big square down here. So go ahead and take your pair of scissors and cut all the way around this square. Now it's important when we're doing this step to take our time. I know sometimes we like to rush through things and kind of like get going really fast, but on this, you really want to take your time. Make sure you're cutting out just that square. Don't cut out too much more, don't cut out too much less. Try to be right on that black line, okay? And now on mine, I have one more square bit to cut out. So now I've got my square all cut out. You can kind of see it's got all the different lines on it. If you're still cutting your square out, you can pause this video to finish cutting out, and at any time you can pause the video to make sure you get caught up. But go ahead and get to this part. I'm gonna wait just a second and clean up a little bit, and then we're gonna move on to the next step, okay? Alrighty, so we have a square, and if you look, there are black lines on it that kind of only go half the sheet of paper, and then there's this like kind of funny looking like design part. These black lines are actually showing you how to fold your paper. So the first fold we make is from this line from the top to the bottom. It goes the whole way, just like that. So I'm folding that first one, and I'm just putting it down on the table so I can make a really good crease. So now we've got this kind of thing. Well, let's just fold it in the middle again, along this black line going right here to this corner, okay? So now we've got this kind of funny thing, and the last thing we do is make a fold along the 2 sides of the gray, kind of like this. And you'll notice on this last fold, the kind of edge comes out funny, but that's totally okay. It's what it's supposed to do. So I'm doing my last 2 sides now. And after folding on all those lines, you should get something that kind of looks like this. And I'll even get kind of closer to the camera a little bit. You can see we've got all these different folds, and then we've got our kind of design on the top, okay? Now if you're still folding and you want to pause the video, go ahead and pause really quick and then push play. I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting out. So what you need to do now is where there's gray on your design, you need to cut it out. So we cut out these gray patches, but you also actually need to cut out for your rabbit ears at the top. So I'll do that one first. I'm just gonna cut across the top and cut off those 2 kind of like bits that are poking out. So now I've got this. And now I'm gonna take my scissors. You're cutting through all of these pieces of the paper, by the way. And I'm gonna cut just the gray. We'll start with the one at the top. And if your scissors are having a little bit of trouble, make sure you're not cutting from like the front of the scissor, like this, with the little ends. Because if you cut from just the little ends, you're not using the whole scissor to be able to cut. So make sure on these big cuts, you're cutting from like right here at the very back. It kind of works a little better. So I'm just cutting out the gray, like shadowy parts. So I got my first cut made. Now I'm gonna do this bit right here. So I'm gonna cut right here using my scissors, using the back of my scissor really carefully, making sure it's all working well. Oh, and that's something else. Make sure when we're using scissors, we should be very safe with them, okay? And now I'm gonna cut out these last two little bits right here. So there's the little one there. And then there's the little other one right here. And then I'm just gonna look at it to make sure I got them all. Oh, look, I missed a little gray bit right here at the bottom. So I'm just gonna snip that little bit off at the very bottom, okay? So now if you're still cutting, pause the video right here. But if you are all cut out, you can keep going on with me. So after it's all cut out, you've got this funny looking little, like, it almost looks like an airplane or a rocket ship. What you do now is very carefully unfold your paper. And you should end up with a snowflake. This first one kind of looks like this. The other two papers I gave you are different designs, so they'll turn out a little bit differently. So one of the cool things about snowflakes, obviously they fall from the clouds whenever it's really cold outside, but snowflakes are symmetrical. Now, if you've ever heard the word symmetrical before, you might think like, oh, like a butterfly wing where like one side of the butterfly is the same as it is on the other side. Snowflakes are that way. These snowflakes are actually all symmetrical, where if you fold them in half, you'll notice that the edges meet up. But they're also something called rotationally symmetrical. That means if you keep turning the snowflake, it's always going to kind of make the same pattern over and over again. Now, if you're like me and you kind of like maybe cut one of the edges a little bit too small, it won't be perfect, but you can kind of get that idea, all right? So that was our first activity, was like snowflake designs. I won't do the other two snowflake templates with you, but you can definitely do those at home and kind of like just try them all out. Remember, with the snowflakes, you want to go very slowly, because if you go too fast, you're gonna get them kind of messed up, okay? Alright guys, well thanks for listening to the first activity, and there's going to be another video with the other 3 activities in your kit, so I hope to see you again.